I fucking hate the night shift. Everyone's either in the middle of a long trip and not bothering to purchase gum or a drink to spend their time dirtying the bathroom, or on the prowl during the open season for the 3 or 4 meth addicts that frequent here. One of them, Marco, we call him Narco as a form of negative reinforcement, but I'm pretty sure he doesn't give a shit, just came through here asking for cigarettes in exchange for favors, but too many things about both his pitch and persona were toothless, so to speak. Not to say there aren't interesting customers, or patrons, as I've been instructed to call them, as if such patrons would ever be referred to en masse. I like it when the teenagers come in ready to buy alcohol with increasingly convincing fake IDs, especially when I think of a way to bring up running their fake cards through a government database that doesn't actually exist. Of course, that means that the first time I see a kid trying to get his friends drunk, it's also the last time, but that's a burden I've accepted as a guy who follows the law. It's so stupid. At least the weather's nice. It's a cool night in Carson City. Temperature drops tend to be pretty intense in deserts like this, especially considering the empty skies from the past few weeks, but tonight seems pretty forgiving. We get to wear neutral-colored long-sleeve shirts under our uniform polo, and despite how bad I look in white, I'm thankful for wearing both. The light pollution is pretty bad from the gas station, since it's started up in the most offensively fluorescent lighting so as to grab the attention of weary and exhausted drivers, as well as meth addicts, apparently. But once you get away from that and give your eyes a chance to adjust, the stars can't be beat. I think knowledge of that is what makes working the night shift suck. Just a mile in 15 minutes and you could have some serious eye candy, I tell myself. Such a beautiful sight is right there. But it's subsumed in synthetic lighting. The CRT television mounted to the wall behind me babbles something about football to itself. As much as I love playing, I can't stand watching the games. Too many pop stars and role models and contract deals for me to memorize if I try to participate in it socially, and too little action with all the faked injuries to enjoy as a spectator sport. I'm pretty good at tuning the sports channels out on slow days, but for some reason the broadcast refuses to fizzle into the background, and so I'm stuck, half listening to descriptions of kicks and a network of passes I refuse to conceptualize lest I get so caught up into it that I accidentally kick the shotgun under the counter and destroy some merchandise. Ah, shit. There's gotta be something I can do to keep myself occupied. I've cleaned the counter, 8 times, which I know is a waste of cleaner and kicks up the stickers displaying the lottery tickets so many of those aforementioned meth heads inexplicably bet their entire lifestyles off of, but all of the snacks are organized, drinks stocked, and drink fountain tidied. I guess I could clean that again. Who would have known a leaking slush machine would provide such a critical source of stimulation? The syrupy punk pink residue of the slush machine deposits at least 8 childish dreams worth of sugar every hour, and in lieu of getting a slush technician or whatever and fixing it, it appears my manager is content with having everyone clean it when they see it build up. Briefly, I had considered making a complaint. Considered figuring out who'd I'd have to send a fancy-looking piece of paper with enough big words on it to suggest I meant business, and then figure out what it meant to mean business. Failing that, I'd just become a soft-serve technician or whatever and fix the thing myself, and if I had the gumption, turn around and ask for a raise. Failing that, I'd become the world's most successful traveling soft-serve technician and make Hector jealous he'd ever let me go. I'd pick up all the tricks of the soft-serve tinkering trade, learn the lingo and memorize the rounds, keep track of all the hot single women and match their soft-serve technical needs. I'd be immortalized as Player 17 keeps his feet moving. He delivers a swift kick and threads the needle. The field's wide open. The goalie isn't ready. He goes left. The ball spins right. Hector, I reprimand, a bit louder than I intended, poking my head into the back room. What? He asks, nosing some sports magazine whose publications I always find caught in the gutter grills after a rainstorm. The TV? I hint. Seriously, about the football? Yes, Hector, about the football. I can't focus when it's playing. Okay, well, I'm clocking out in about 15 minutes. You can change the channel after I'm done. I consider his proposition and see what he's really saying. What would it take for you to leave now? I've already changed the channel to the news when Hector clocks out. He tosses me the keys for when I close. All I see, however, is a glint that seems kind of close, but at the same time kind of far away, and by the time I figure out where it is in space, it's come to rest on the meticulously cleaned counter. Hector wasn't looking when it landed on the counter, but he heard the canned laser beam sound effect from the novelty laser gun connected to the keyring and the distinct clink of metal against glass. He paused for a second, mixing the sounds in his head and considering each of the possible causes, then swivels like a turret to find the keys and then meet my eyes. Silence, and then, "Get your eyes checked, Ricardo." "Eat shet, Hector," I said, quoting the infamously misspelled insult sharpied into the employee restroom. He leaves. I don't hate the guy, I ponder, trying to find a way to burn these extra 30 minutes. He's just so stalwart and self-assured, not to mention a total prick about it. He's I start giving him the benefit of the doubt here. A multifaceted individual, and sometimes that conflicts with his rather mundane responsibilities as a gas station manager. And then I start lying. Even with that said, he's pretty patient and rather heartfelt when it counts. But I rein it in. But he doesn't know how to share his feelings in a way that doesn't leave everyone involved feeling cold and disrespected. Eat shit, Hector, I say, privately. My eyes flit to the clock. My eyes flit to the clock again. They flit to the clock once more. And then again, for good measure, and another flit for the road. I know that logistically it isn't possible for more than 15 seconds to have elapsed between the 15-second intervals in which my eyes wander to the clock, but an overbearing amount of hope compels me to challenge said logic and potentially eke out time dilation, but in reverse. Is that a phenomena too? I bet if I were a physicist, I could spend this time doing the math and draft a proof or whatever that two people generations from now would laud as the new E equals MC squared, but I'm not. So I won't. The gurgling pessimism in my throat bleats and discards the idea, the fantasy now lost and leaving me back in the gas station again. Which is pretty disappointing because the gas station isn't getting any more interesting. Tell a lie, here's something that may excite. We have a customer. A patron. I realize now the gurgling pessimism was actually just the entry bell ringing. "I'm here to pay for gas," a scraggly voice informs. I blink out the last of my visions of being the next Einstein and take more of the patron in. Their voice is atrocious, and they're wearing a hoodie and sunglasses. From the dry, cracked skin, as well as the crunchy tears and eye gunk that peeks out from the sunglasses, my crackdar discerns them as upper echelon meth head, which I've been around for long enough to not think anything of. "Which pump?" I ask, confident they didn't remember which pump they parked at. I give the concept another second to land as I wager this guy probably has a lot going on up there. Ever still, they stand resolute, like a statue, petrified in time as they decipher a 2-word question. It's evident by the level and slightly distant mouth breathing I hear that they wouldn't give a good response, so I look out the window, past the bouncy glare, and into the fueling area to resolve the situation myself. I double-take, and the lot is still empty. I hear the shuffling of the hoodie, so I look over to ask again, before I catch a glimpse of what appears to be the back of a pistol. It takes more than a punch to knock me off my feet, but I've never been hit by something metal right on the edge of a graveyard shift. The energy travels right through my skull, shakes my brain, and takes with it my balance. I fall backwards into the array of cigarettes and tobacco tins and wind up buried in nicotine. The point of contact above my left temple becomes a deluge of hot, thin blood. As soon as I realize that I'm bleeding, my adrenaline kicks in and I grasp at the flurry of disquietingly violent ideas, most of which involving choice dismemberment via shotgun. Still on the floor, I reach behind me and find the broom that nobody could fit into the janitor closet, with my sights set on dislodging the shotgun from under the counter. However, the meth head is also moving quickly and is sliding their large ass across the counter to have at the cash register. I know Hector told me to not be a hero and let the robbers have their way, but this motherfucker had the audacity to pistol whip me. And frankly, this adrenaline has nowhere else to go. I point the broom to the shotgun once I work it out from under me in the tobacco torrent and jab at it until it falls. Only one problem. I can't seem to jab straight. My arms swim around like a drunk driver, and in my bloody daze and spastic desperation, I can't tighten my focus enough to knock the gun out on my first and second try. The meth head spins his fat ass and immediately sees what I'm doing, and slides down into the service side so the broom is between his legs. Thanks to his short stature, the broomstick is forced downwards and away from the shotgun by way of his groin. It's in that moment that his right hand finds itself pointed at my chest. My eyes follow his arm, and I wince as soon as I find the gun. Its night sight glowed a fierce and unruly green that would put all of the neon alcohol signs in every gas station in this chain to shame, right before an even brighter orange forces the entire gun backwards, and my ears to whistle. I'm suddenly cold. Very cold. One by one, my limbs lose their moxie as my flailing abandons any character, until I'm reduced to an imperceptibly twitching husk. So much for a white shirt. Now both my mind and body are swimming. All the fantastic ways I considered turning the tide and protecting the gas station seem like childish echoes from years past. I'd hoped that my life would flash before my eyes before I died, but instead it seems I just get to fade away into nothing, shrink down into a single, pathetic point before blowing away and assimilating into the void. There's no color, just form. A humanoid above a stick struggles to work sheets out of a box. Light from a thing refracts through a plane and, in pieces, lands in my eyes. There's nothing left, just the feeling that something needed to be said.
To let such ambition die.
A statement so thoroughly drenched in valor.
An unacceptable loss I refuse to let be grieved.
An axiom so veritably nestled in conviction.
Become my connection, so the world may yet again have hope.
An offer no dead man could refuse. I didn't realize my eyes had closed until I opened them. The first thing I remember is the gunshot. I hadn't even felt it the first time around, yet I feel it now. A wicked puncture lined by flesh which reports intense burning. A path carved directly through my left pectoral, into my heart, and out through the bottom of my shoulder blade. I take in a sharp breath to barter with the pain of the wound and discover the blood that coagulated in my throat. My inhale was sharp enough to dislodge what felt like an apple-sized buildup, which shocked me into a whooping cough. That got the fucker's attention. I look back to the cash register and find the poor thing disfigured beyond repair. The rails of the drawer were bent into fangs, as it appears my murderer used his body weight to force the disappointingly paltry notes out. 1s and 5s are all over the floor, some of which have sponged up my blood, but most have made it into a grocery bag that's being lugged over the front counter, kicking up with them those damned lotteryette stickers. Until, of course, it stops. He lunged across the counter, pathetically absent of grace, inexplicably choosing to contact the counter with his back without using his legs to push himself across, instead opting to use the customer's side's drop-off of gum and mints as something to grab onto to perform the world's most underwhelming backstroke attempted indoors. I'm still on the ground, but I hear his slaps as they crinkle the plastic wrapping the snacks in the display. Frantic, pathetic, exasperated slaps, like kids play fighting or throwing punches in a dream. Only then do I smell the tobacco. Tobacco and rubber smoldering. That's when I see the tobacco tins, some punctured, some popped, all set alight. Then there's the fat fuck's shoes, whose grooves from fabrication have melted. It's not just his shoe, though. It's hard to tell from his flailing, but the left pant leg is burning about the cuff, most of the cloth eaten away by a kindling slowly working its way up. Despite how inexplicable the source of the singes are, its mysterious origin doesn't register as impossible. In fact, I feel a bubbling apology for the absurdity of the burns, as well as a fanciful lust, a pang of malicious and childish curiosity. I take a moment to compare this new feeling with my previous cognitions of heroics with the shotgun, and find nestled within them a new path. With the shotgun, I had a gambling kind of confidence, plans fueled by the gumption you'd use to go all in or ask a girl out. But with this childish curiosity, I already know beyond doubt what's going to happen, with the same intuition that understands gravity makes ledges dangerous. But such curiosity is giddy to drop fragile things regardless. I find myself magnetized to the broom, just like I felt with the shotgun, and therein my new ace in the hole. I reach my hand out to it, now perpendicular to the right leg it rests on, and I feel it. The whimsical presence in my thoughts who so eagerly anticipates an action whose consequence feels so dreadfully obvious. It expresses itself then as an energy, a vim who's currently present in me but fervently seeks greener pastures, or in this case the shaft of the broom. Such an appealing choice, it gloats. Such a perfect material to travel through. My palm is but an inch away from the broomstick before a crisp crackle rings out, and I put together what it was that popped the tobacco and burned the clothing. High voltage electrical discharge. From me. And judging by how ample the energy is that helped me to my feet, broom in hand, there's plenty more where it came from. I'm a wellspring, a cell, a battery who's overcharged and ready to blow. The broomstick, whose bristles have since burned off, has helped sate the inexplicable desires of the source, particularly when the energy arcs off of the broom and fries another tobacco tin, the contents inside belching noxious tobacco smells. The energy is rippling just under my skin, each excited electron petitioning for their discharge into the robber, which, considering the circumstances, I can't find any reason to refuse. Let's fix up those shoes first, make them symmetrical. The quaint plastic cap at the end of the broom, most commonly used for hanging, finds its new purpose, reminding me how insulators work. The plastic cap is the first part to connect with his body, and as much bustling as there is within my arms and the broom, it all simply refuses to connect with the shoe. As I figure this out, the robber sits up with a groan, using the hand tugging the grocery bag of spoils to work a kink out of his back, as Delirious is waking up from a deep nap on the couch. His other hand moves, but is slowed by the weight of the gun that killed me. He adds the optic of me poking him with an electric broom in his brain, and puts together just how grave the mistake he made is. In a flash, panic covers his face as I lay the middle of the stick against his right shin, his sweatpants rapidly turning black and blowing away as his muscles accept the new instructions from the electricity. His scream is a horrible, dry, throaty heave that haughtily flings the last of his mucus out of his esophagus, resulting in the second half to be a gibbering gesticulation, spurred by the spastic and repetitive movement from the broom and die. When it stops sounding human, I stop as well. It's kind of fucked up, right? Killing this guy? For what? When I cast my eyes down to think, I find the dislodged shotgun, microwave chewing tobacco, singed broom bristles, and finally, the blood-stained money. The money that goes into my paycheck, now stained with my blood. I place my knee on the counter with a swift hop and use both hands to level the broomstick against his neck. Whatever this feeling is totally right. While it may be the most basic, most simple action imaginable, whose outcome is so assuredly guaranteed that even the most polarizing of luck couldn't change the outcome, the idea just seems so fun. So I let it all out. Okay, that was Ricardo. Fucking, I did it. Woo!